Hello, and welcome to another session on writing in English. We continue with the poem, She Rose to His Requirement. So, in the first stanza, it introduces or it begins with the woman getting married and entering a new life. From the first stanza onwards, the poet focuses her attention to such a woman who is forced to get married, and that too at a very young age. So she dropped the playthings of her life itself suggests that it's a child marriage, and therefore it is a child bride. And this playthings is not just it need not be restricted to her toys alone. It could also mean her dreams, her innocence, her youth. Yes, all that is now has become a thing of the past. All this has become the thing of the past. It has to be dropped. So the word dropped itself tells you that the child is forced to drop all such behaviors that classifies her as a child. She has to take on or adorn the cloth of an adult now. She has to forcefully transform herself from a child to that of a woman, and from that to that of a wife. So that's why I said Emily Dickinson is very concise. So it's not that she has faulty writing, or she does not use a structured sentence. She purposefully does it because each word tells or shows the depth of the poem or the depth of the theme that she introduces. So she rose to his requirement. To whose requirement? Her husband's requirement. She is a puppet, or she is an object for him, a slave, a servant, an object for him. And she has to rise to his requirement. Whatever requirements he has, she has to rise to that, and she's forced to drop all the playthings of her life, and now she has to take on a very respectful and very honored work that the society has given on her. And that is the role of a woman and that of a wife. So here the poet is mocking at the patriarchal society, because the poet is unhappy of the woman's situation, because she is defined by the shallow lens of marriage. And Emily Dickinson, through this poem, is trying to oppose the perception that a woman's individuality has no value. So next stanza. If aught she missed in her new day of amplitude or awe, or first prospective or the gold in using wore away. So the second stanza, American woman bears her own burden. She is unable to express it out to others. And it reflects on the thoughts and opinions she misses in her new life. Ought means anything. Amplitude means multiplicity. If aught she missed in her new day of amplitude or awe, or first prospective or the gold in using wore away. So this married woman, she does not discuss the things she misses in her new life. If aught she missed in her new day of amplitude or awe, or first prospective or the gold in using wore away. So she is letting it loose, or she is not going to discuss this discuss what? Discuss this happiness that she had when she was a child. All the silly things that that comes to her, she would not discuss it with her husband, because her husband is to be seen as a god. He is a superior person, and these things are not to be discussed. It has to be kept in her itself. The word amplitude refers to the drastic change, multiplicity, the drastic change that this woman's life has undergone. From a very relatively carefree life of a young maiden or a young child to that of a married woman. So this stanza brings out that change in the child. All that happiness, all the innocence that she enjoyed when she was a child, perhaps, even the smallest excitements that she had, perhaps she would discuss, or she would run to her mother and discuss with her. Maybe she would have a hearty laugh on her own. She would sit with her, maybe caressing the kitten, running or chasing her kitten or her dog, or just climbing the tree, or just running around through the fields. The happiness, the innocence, the thoughts, the ideas. So I'm taking you from smaller things to bigger ones. The thoughts, even the thoughts and ideas. So I want you to bear this in mind, that the child has, or a woman, a child, a girl who is filled with energy, who is filled with great potential. All this is now going to be buried with her, because she is supposed to bury it and not take it out in her new life. She has responsibilities. She has lots of responsibilities. So this stanza shows that great or drastic change that has come upon this young maiden after her marriage. She does not discuss the things that awed her. What do you mean by awe? That excited her. Nor does she think, or does she discuss her future expectations, what she expects from her husband, what she wants, what she desires in future. Nothing is discussed in her new life. All this is going to be buried with her. Now look at the phrase gold ring, or the gold in using wore away. Now that's a reference to the gold ring, the wedding ring, which wears away, because that wearing away itself shows her responsibilities, as the gold ring, it wears away. So that is a symbol. That is a symbol for her wedded life. The gold ring suggests matrimony, or her gold ring suggests her marriage, and the responsibilities that come along with marriage. Now what happens to this gold ring? It wears away. That means the responsibilities that she has is portrayed there. അവൾ പലതും, അതായത് അവളുടെ ജോലികളിൽ മറന്ന് അവളെ തന്നെ, she doesn't even take care of herself. So the wearing of the gold ring is suggestive of the hardships that she has to endure in her married life. The work and the responsibility, both the work that she has to do as well as the responsibilities that she is or she has to do, her responsibilities. So, and also her responsibilities. So this is not just a physical gold. It's not just in the literal sense a physical gold object, but also this gold object, as I told you, is a symbol of her marriage, and which wears away, this wearing away of the golden ring, when she works, when she washes her dishes, when she cleans the clothes, scrubs the floor, looks after the children, cooks for her husband, the golden ring wears away. It's not just a symbol, it's not just a physical gold that wears away, but also a reference to her dreams, her expectations, her aspirations that fade with time. So it's not just her responsibilities and her hardships, but also a reference to the dreams that are gold-like, that are precious to her. Her expectations that are precious to her, her aspirations that are precious to her, all this starts to fade with time. And all these remain secret to those around her. It remains in her and is buried with her. It is not to be discussed with others. Now let's move on to the third stanza. It lay unmentioned as the sea develops pearl and wheat, but only to him is known the fathoms they abide. So the third stanza evokes the image of sea and knows at what depth, only she alone knows at what depth lie hidden those precious pearls and gems, those treasures. Not just the treasures, but also the weeds. So only the sea knows at what depth these gems and treasures lie. Not just gems and treasures, but also the weeds, the unwanted thoughts. Similarly, the married woman keeps her happiness and sadness. So gems, the pearls, is a reference to her happiness, and the weeds can be suggestive of her sadness, her sorrow, her woes, and also the thoughts, certain thoughts that strike her, that make her feel depressed, disillusioned. So that can be a reference to the word to weeds. Okay, so all this lie deep inside her, and the comparison is to that of the sea, because the sea alone knows the depth at which the treasures are hidden. Likewise, her mind is the sea. She is the sea, where all her happiness and sadness, the happiness is the precious pearls and treasures, and the sadness is the weeds that lies within her, is buried deep inside this ocean or this sea. Only she is aware of the thoughts, the feelings and memories that also, or that lie within her. Okay, that is the fathoms they abide. Fathoms, the great depths. It lay unmentioned, unknown, deep inside the mind of the woman, just like pearls and weeds lie deep in the depths of the ocean or the sea, and only the sea knows its depth, but only to himself is known. So only she knows her happiness and her sadness, her aspirations, her feelings, her thoughts, her memories, her love, her dislikes, everything. And they lie hidden deep inside the fathoms. The fathoms here, the depths. So they are hidden in the depths of the sea, in the deep, deep sea, and is unknown to others around her. So we have completed the poem. So that's it with the poem She Rose to His Requirements. We shall discuss the question answers. So the poem has powerful elements of feminism, and it reflects the poet's view on patriarchal society. This was written in the 1800s, say she was born in 1830, so probably in the 1840s or so. We don't know exactly when she wrote this particular poem. This was a time, the 1800s was a time when most women across the world were defined by their roles as wife and mother. The poem portrays the lack of acknowledgement of a woman's individuality that irked the poet, and she tries to address it here. In the last few videos on feminist novelists, I did tell you of the Victorian superstitions about invalidism. I also told you about how they were considered as very inferior and weak creatures who cannot think of their own, and therefore all her aspirations, her dreams, everything was suppressed, and how she was considered a prime object of pleasure for her husband, who could mistreat her, do anything to her, and she has to endure all this because the Victorian women were considered as pure as angels who would forgive and forget all the atrocities committed upon her, which led to several suicides, these repressions and suppressions led to several suicides, which made many lose their mental stability and so on. So this poem is divided into 3 stanzas with A, B, C, B rhyme scheme. Okay, and if you the first question, discuss the title of the poem. See, what's the title of the poem? She rose to his requirement. So his here is a reference to her husband. It speaks about how when a woman enters her married life, she has to rise to her husband's requirement, and she has to leave all her life. She has to leave her past life behind and rise to the demands of her husband. And also the title also suggests that the poets suggests the society's created situation, or society's construct of a situation where a wife should consider her husband as God. Okay, so those are the points that you must use here. How does the poet show the disappointment of woman? How does she show the disappointment of woman? She rose to his requirement, dropped the playthings of her life to take the honorable work of woman and of wife. If aught she missed in her new day of amplitude, or in her first perspective, or the gold in using wore away. So the second stanza and the last few lines of the first stanza gives you the and also the third stanza, of course, gives you a clear understanding of the disappointment of woman. In the first stanza, where the poet states that the woman is transformed from she gets transformed from a child to that of an adult, that is a woman, and from that to a bride. So she has to transform herself to an adult to a wife. For what? To take up a very responsible job, and that is the job of being a woman and a wife. And she has to drop all her playthings, all her dreams and aspirations, her innocence and youth. Everything is now to be left or dropped, and she has to be more matured and be ready to take or to rise to all the requirements of her husband. Another thing is in the second stanza, where you will find the attitude, the poet's through the poet or the poet tries to tell us the unhappy or the disappointment of women in how these how a woman is judged through or defined by the shallow lens of marriage. And also the second stanza that tells us of what all she is missing, all the things that she misses in her life, the past, the things that awed her, the things that made her what she is. All this is not to be discussed with her husband. She does not discuss her future expectations. She does not discuss the past of the things that excited her, what she is. Nothing is discussed with him. She is just a toy. She's just a puppet to him. And also her aspirations, her thoughts, her feelings, her memories all lie hidden within her, just like in an ocean or a sea. So all these, you have to pick out all these from each stanza and discuss on how the poet creates or shows the disappointment of a woman. Now comment on the rhythm of the poem that I shall be giving you the note. I shall just send it to you through WhatsApp. Trace male dominancy in the poem. Just listen to the video once more. Write about the summary of the poem, and also basing it on what we studied in feminist poetics. You have to give your conclusions as well. It is an essay question, again an assignment. Okay, all right. So thank you and keep safe.